If you are anything like me, you have spent way too much time searching for pragmatic language developmental milestones. In my personal experience, finding these norms that have been broken down into easy-to-use lists is relatively impossible. Until now. But before we break pragmatic language down into developmental milestones, we need to answer an important question. What is pragmatic language? According to ASHA, pragmatics is an area of social communication focusing on goal-consistent language use in social contexts. Nelson, 2010. It is the set of rules that individuals follow when using language in conversation and other social settings. Culturally responsive practice seeks to understand pragmatic norms specific to the student, client, or patient. Pragmatics includes both verbal and nonverbal communication. Examples of pragmatic language include using language for different reasons, changing the language for the listener or situation, following rules for conversation, and following the rules of storytelling, nonverbal communication, gestures, facial expressions, tone of voice, proxemics, and eye contact. So now that we know what pragmatic language is, let's talk about the developmental norms. First, I would just like to say that finding pragmatic language developmental milestones is ridiculously hard. In my experience, they are lumped together into lists with every other type of language development. What I need is developmental norms that have been organized in an easy-to-use format. If it was up to me, here is how I would organize pragmatic language developmental milestones. 1. They need to originate from a reputable source. 2. They need to be separated and chronologically organized into each of the areas of pragmatic language, including using language for different reasons, changing the language for the listener or user, conversation, storytelling, nonverbal communication, play skills as it relates to social skills, jokes, idioms, and figurative language. And then, number 3, they would need to be transformed into easy-to-use handouts that can simultaneously be given to parents and teachers, but can also be used by SLPs to interpret pragmatic language evaluations. Oh, wait. It was up to me. I created pragmatic language handouts exactly like that. And here is how I developed them. A long time ago, I bookmarked the speech and language developmental milestones from the Spiffy Speech blog. If you haven't done it, take a second and do it right now. I reference them all the time, and I will link that in the description. Most of those resources were originally compiled in the SLPs for Evidence-Based Practice Facebook group by Tatiana Elisif, who is the group admin of that group, and it's under the Giant Milestones post. So after I went to the Spiffy Speech blog, I sifted through all of those norms, and I found everything I could related to social communication or pragmatic language development. And I used this information from various publications to create these developmental norm handouts. And I created one handout for each of the areas of pragmatic language that I talked about. So, how do I use these pragmatic language developmental milestones? I primarily use these to help me interpret the results of my informal pragmatic language assessments. I have a informal pragmatic language assessment template on TPT, and this pairs perfectly with that. So as I go through that evaluation, I then go back and reference these developmental norms to see how my student compares developmentally. But I also use these developmental norms as caregiver handouts. I like to use them to educate parents and teachers on what pragmatic language is and what is appropriate for a student their age. So I will print out these handouts and I will have them prepared to give the parents and teachers at our evaluation meeting where we are reviewing the results of the evaluation. Be that an ARD, IEP meeting, and something more or less formal, whatever. So, if you are interested in learning more about these pragmatic language developmental norms, you can hop on over to my TPT store and grab a pair for yourself, and I will put a link in the description. And I will talk to you later. Have a great day.